Hello again and welcome back to Mordian Mondays, episode 10. Today we are looking at some glorious Mordian Iron Guards, but last week we had a bit of a different thing to show off. We had some Steel Legion because I was prepping for a tournament, so last week I spent a lot of time painting up some Steel Legion in preparation for Caledonian Revolution 2019, but we've talked about that tournament, we talked about it last week. And so now we are back to painting the glorious Mordian 50th Rifles on their restoration project. And this video is a bit of a big one because I have finished my first vow for the Bolter and Chainsword painting competition, the ETL 2019, which was, and should be a picture coming over this soon, which was 4 infantry squads, 4 characters, and a command squad. I did 3 assault infantry units and 1 fire support unit. The 3 squads were, one was armed with a grenade launcher chainsword, one was armed with a flamer chainsword, one was armed with a melter gun chainsword, and then the fire support one was armed with a missile launcher and grenade launcher. The command squad was armed with heavy bolter flamer. Realistically now, I'm actually going to be swapping that flamer with the grenade launcher assault squad because it makes sense to have a heavy bolter grenade launcher together and then have another flamer assault squad. So that does mark the completion. I haven't got all the models shown here, but that does mark the completion of the main element of my first Mordian Iron Guard restored platoon. So you see, in total now, I actually have 3 fire support squads, 3 assault squads, a veteran squad, a command squad, and a whole bunch of characters. So I have 3 squads, 2 with missile launcher and grenade launcher, 1 with las cannon and grenade launcher. And then I have 3 assault squads, flamer, power sword, melter gun, power sword, flamer, chainsword. And then I have a veteran squad, which was very kindly donated to me by one of my subscribers, so thank you very much for sending that in. And they've got 3 plasma guns, Sergeant's got a plasma pistol and a power sword. And the characters I've got painted up, I've got Lord Commissar with plasma pistol, power fist, Company Commander with bolter, Lieutenant with power fist and las pistol, Lieutenant with power sword, again donated, thank you very much. Priest, chainsword, and then I've got a company commander with shotgun, and then I've got my 3 regimental advisors, which is I've got the massive ordnance, the master of plays, I can't remember what it's called, master of the fleet, and the astropath. Realistically, I'm not really going to use the astropath in the Mordian 50 rifles, at least at first, simply because we're going for this narrative of fluff. The ecclesiarchy have come in, all the psychers have been kicked out or burned, and now the regiment is on its path of purity, so it's penitent crusade, that's what it is. But the massive ordnance, I could definitely use him, to be honest, just as a Vox guy in a command squad or something. He just looks like or he looks cool. And the master of the fleet, I actually think would be a really good model just to have as a bit of a foppish officer. Just have him as a company commander or a lieutenant. Just keep it simple. He does suit some sort of officer, Mordian officer role. So that does mark, but because I've got so much painted up now, I can actually do a proper 500 point army. I've got a bit of wiggle room actually, and I'm actually not too far off having a 750 point army. But the crazy thing is like those 6 squads and the veterans and the 4 commanders that I'm going to use, that's not even like 600 points. Pure infantry guard is crazy. It's crazy. You don't really appreciate how many guards you can really cram in until that's all you're taking. It's all you're taking. And I had a really interesting revelation this week, which was I'm changing my tack on what was going to be my pure infantry army. You see, initially what I was doing is I was taking 3 battalions, maxing out on infantry squads, maxing out on veterans. That's all good, But then I was like taking lots of little bitty things, like, 3 heavy weapon squads is okay, but then like 3 special weapon squads. Like, I never take special weapon squads. I was taking them purely to fill out points. 3 command squads, yeah, command squads are okay, but they're still a little bit of an easy, shitty bitty unit. They're good, don't get me wrong, I love my command squads, but they don't really fit with the whole waves of assault infantry that I was going for. They're just a little bit sort of fire support unit, which is okay, but again, they're a little bit of a filler unit. If I'm going to be honest, a bit of a filler unit in the list. And there's a whole load of things that that I was originally looking at taking, and I've realised now. My revelation is because 3 battalions is realistically what you want to take. Because if you take a brigade, then you're having to spend points on fast attack, and that's because I'm not making a huge amount of sense. The reason you take 3 battalions is to get access to 18 troop slots, so you can take 18 infantry squads. Now, if you want to get more than 18 infantry squads, you have to take a brigade. The problem is when you take a brigade, you then have to take 3 fast attack choices. And the problem with that is they're basically tax units, and they don't fit with the all-infantry vibe. Rough Riders are not infantry. Sentinels, which are another cheap way of doing it, are not infantry. And they do break the I'm going for pure infantry theme. Nothing against those units. Don't think I'm saying don't use them. But what I'm going for with the Mordian Restoration product is I am returning to my pure infantry roots. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. So I realised that my epiphany was, once you've filled out your 18 infantry squads and your 3 veteran squads, they're all your line infantry. Once you've filled all that out, really, what do you spend the rest of your points on? Sure, you want to take your heavy weapon squads, and typically you're going to want to take 3 mortar squads. That just makes sense. Because you do need some, as I learnt from Cali, Caledonian Revolution, you do need some indirect line of fire. You need that. That every battle you go into, you're gonna need those mortars. And even if they're not the best mortars ever, they're Mordian mortars. They're not Kaschan with Harker. They're not Cadian with all the rerolls. You still need that ability to chip off wounds from units that are out of line of sight. So you take your 3 mortar squads, you've got your 3 veteran squads, you've got your 18 infantry squads. What do you take after that? Which you can take special weapon squads, but I've always had a relatively low opinion of them. I think they can do very well if you start dropping them out of Valkyries and stuff like that. I think they make very cheap stormtrooper alternatives. And same with command squads, absolutely. But in a pure infantry list, what those units tend to be is just kill point bait. I mean, you're already running a lot of kill points, don't get me wrong, but those really are just kill point bait. That's what they are. When you think about it, pure infantry guard doesn't actually run that many kill points, because considering you're not going to lose too many characters because they're going to be screened massively, you've only got 18 infantry squads and 3 veteran squads, which realistically the enemy's going to be able to easily target. It's only 21 kill points. That's not actually a lot. Most of the armies that I faced at Caledonian Revolution had huge levels of kill points, because especially in ETC, kill points aren't a big deal. And in ITC, kill points, from what I understand, and hopefully I'm not shooting myself in the foot here, kill points aren't a huge deal. It's simply, did I kill more? Not, I killed 20 more. I just killed more. So, and there's only 4 points for, I think, what is it, the Reaper? If that's still one of the secondaries. So, it's one of those where actually having a huge amount of kill points isn't really a problem. But if it is, pure infantry doesn't have that many. Amazingly. 21 kill points is not that many in 8th edition. My Steel Legion list has more than that. My Steel Legion list has got 20, 21, and then the characters as well. Which is considered light. Most armies that I face have 20 plus easy kill points between venom spam and little shitty units that people use to hold objective. Most people actually don't realize how many kill points they're rocking, and kill points aren't in a lot of missions. So even when taking it into account, it's not a big deal. But they are but it can mess you up. Like, for example, at Cali, 2 of the missions were kill points. Now, if you're facing a guard opponent and you see 3 4-man squads and 3 6-man squads, all of which toting special weapons, what are you going to target first? You're going to target those big those little easy squads in there, and their firepower. The big thing is that the firepower is so easily removed, and there's they're very obvious targets. 3 plasma guns and special weapons squad is an obvious target. 4 grenade launchers and 4 snipers in a command squad is an obvious target, and it does do damage to the enemy. So I do love those units, but I was thinking, and I've mentioned this in my previous video, thinking, what if we get rid of those little bitty units, because I've gone on about this now, we get rid of those little bitty units, and instead we replace them with some really hard-hitting, hardcore assault units. Fits with the fluff of what we're doing with the guard, and fits with the theme. And so to that end, I have been looking into getting some Ogryns / Bulgryns. Now, I've spoken before about Ogryns and Bulgryns in guard lists, and I think the problem is that, especially with recent GW price hikes, the models are very expensive. It's like £35 for like 3 guys, which is a very tall order for GW to ask for. So what I've done is I've actually converted up some Ogryns from Age of Sigmar Ogres. Now, I'm very fortunate, I do have a large bits box, but as I've got the pictures coming up now, and I'm trying to make sure the pictures match with what I'm talking about now, guys. These are Age of Sigmar Ogres kit bashed with actual Ogryn bits. Now, some of you might say, well, if you're buying Ogryn boxes anyway, why wouldn't you just make them into Ogryns? Well, you see, the thing is that actually I bought my boxes of Ogryn / Bulgryns to build a Bulgryn star. I already had 6 left over from last edition, and I bought myself another box so that I could have the full 9 Bulgryn star, because I want to run that at some point. I really want to run a full in-your-face, even with psychic support Bulgryn star. I want to run that as a competitive Death Star unit. But that meant I actually had 4 Ripper guns left over, and what I realised is I spoke to a few people that I know in various gaming groups and whatnot, and loads of people have obviously bought Bulgryns, and they've just got the Ripper guns just lying around doing nothing, and they don't want them. They just give them away for free. That's really easy to do, really easy for people to do, because no one wants Ogryns, which I think is a bit of a shame, because I think they're a massive sleeper unit, which we'll get into in a moment. I also looked on eBay, and actually you can buy, like, in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in America, but in the UK, you can buy Ripper guns for like £1. Like that, just Ripper gun bits. It's like £1, £1.50. So you could buy, considering a box of Ogres is £23 and you get 6, versus £35 and you get 3. You could buy a box of 6 Ogres and buy 6 Ripper guns and still have enough, and still be under the budget of buying 3 actual Ogres from the Bulgryn box. So that's the way I did it. So what I did, just so you guys know what the conversion bits is it's actually very, very simple. I simply took the actual Ogre kit and combined it with the Bulgryn kit, and also some bits from the Militarum Tempestus kit. Okay, now you see, I wanted the Ogryn's belly plates, the round belly plates, I wanted them to have like an Aquila on there. So what I did is, in the Militarum Tempestus box set, for the, I believe it's for the banner, there's this sort of skull Aquila, and it's got 2 tassels that hang off it. I just removed the tassels and then scraped off one side so it was flatter, and then just glued it straight on the belly plate. And it worked really, really well. That's all it was. And because, bear in mind, if you've got any Scions, if you buy a Start Collecting box set, you get 2 of these things. Because each Start Collecting box set has 2 boxes of Scions in there, and every box of Scions allows you to build, whether it's a command squad or not. They allows you to build a whole range of Scion models. So I actually had 6 of these things left over. No problem. I had loads of these things left over. And the tassels themselves have actually got little skulls on as well, which I used in the hats. Just before we get on to the hats, the arms that I tried to get the Ogryn arms to fit on the ogre models. They don't, not very easily. The shoulder joints aren't anywhere near the same size, obviously different, and also the belly plate stops you from is very stuck out, which stops the ogre model from holding his ripper gun in the two-handed pose. So unfortunately, the only disadvantage is all my ogres are single-handedly wielding their ripper guns, but they're ogres at the end of the day. They can deal with it. They can fire from the hip, shooting forward. That's what they do, and they are basically shotguns anyway. So the belly plate is just got an Aquila stuck on the front of it. The shoulder pads the arms are all ogre arms. All I did is do a bit of trimming on the ripper gun, and then it pretty much went straight on the ogre arm. The ripper gun comes with the hand attached, you see. So I just trimmed it down a bit and then lined it up, and it fit perfectly. No issues there whatsoever. Very easy conversion. The shoulder pad you see, that's actually from the Ogryn kit. That is for the ogres. That fit on no problem. And then the equipment, like the grenades and the jerry cans and the ammo pouches, they're just straight from the Bulgrim kit, straight from there. So I just put it straight on. The hats, I'm not going to say I am not a master of green stuff. It took me actually a very long time to get these hats to work, and they are very, very rough. But I can explain to you how I did it, because I thought obviously my Ogryns are going to have Mordian hats because they're part of the Mordian Iron Guard. Now, it's actually a very simple bit. I made the hat in 3 parts. So the peak cap, I just got a bit of green stuff and flattened it into a sort of square, rounded square, and then I stuck that on the forehead. Okay? Then with another bit of green stuff, I made a little tube, nice rolled up, like when you sort of rub blue tack between your fingers. I don't know if anyone else used this as a kid. Rub blue tack between your fingers to make a sausage with it. I did that with the green stuff as well. Made a little sausage and then wrapped it round into a circle and stuck that on his head. And then the peaked bit of the cap was also very easy. I just got a big bit of green stuff and flattened it between forefinger and thumb. Well, this bit was actually kind of cool because I flattened it before finger and thumb, and then it got stuck on my thumb, right? But when I peeled it off the thumb, it made it already. It made it sort of, if the word is convex. It made it peaked already, and I just plopped that straight on and molded it round, and boom, I had a peaked cap. So that because the round bit of my thumb basically made the peak for me as I was peeling it off. So that was cool, and that's it. And then what I did for the skulls is, again, from the Scion kit, those Schola quillas with tassels, on the end of those tassels is a little skull, and you get 2 of them. So I just cut the skull off and stuck it in the centre of the hat, and figured that looked good enough. Now, I'm not saying these are amazing green stuff. I am not a master of green stuff at all, but I figure when these things are painted up, they'll look fine. And my reasoning is, if the Ogryn hats aren't quite as in good quality as the regular Mordian hats, well, that kind of makes sense, because Ogryns aren't going to look after their hats very well, even if they're trying really, really hard. They're going to get squashed and malformed and whatnot. For the bonehead, all I did is, you'll notice one of the models has got Nork Dead Dog's Vox and Commissar hat. I just stuck that on one shoulder pad, and then on his other shoulder there's actually it's a mini shoulder pad basically, and I just stuck that on to represent he's got a bit more armour, and the basically the guard are relaying the instructions through the Vox cast on his shoulder, so basically telling him, keep going forward, you're doing a great job, go on, you're doing great. I actually found that the ogre heads themselves actually when the ogre heads are on the models stock as is, no conversion work, they look like Mongolian mustaches, which I think is what the whole point of the ogres is. They're basically sort of nomadic Mongols. That's their theme, Genghis Khan style. When you put these hats on, what it actually looks like is just really ill-kempt facial hair. And obviously the ogres are trying to be all, the Mordian Iron Guard have rubbed off on them, and they're trying to be all gentlemanly. They don't understand, but they don't really understand the Mordian Iron Guard ways, but they do know that every good officer has to have dashing facial hair, and so they all have this, all but one have this fantastic facial hair, and the one that doesn't have it, I went for clean shaven, because the only other acceptable option for an officer is to be completely clean shaven and to keep yourself in good nick. So I figured they actually worked quite nicely. Now, some of you are going to say, why the hell would the Mordian Iron Guard be using Ogryns? I mean, Mordian Iron Guard really, above all things, put appearance and discipline and all that in as pride of place as the most important thing a guardsman could do. Well, my thinking was you got to remember the ecclesiarchy have sort of come in and exerting their influence upon the regiment, and so is the commissariat is also trying to regain some lost faith by even allowing psychers in there in the first place. So they are going. So the thing is that Ogryns have very pure faith. Like, it's very simplistic, but they are die-hard loyal to the Emperor. You very rarely see Ogryns that get converted to chaos. Now, obviously, Games Workshop have had recently released the Traitor Commissar with the Renegade Ogryn, and you've also got the Traitor Ogryns from Vrax. What you have to understand is those Ogryns just were doing as they were. They're just doing as they were told. They're die-hard. They don't think. They're not very clever at all. So they just do as they're told. And if the officer says, "All right, this is what the Emperor wants you to do now. He wants you to, to put this chaos mark on your skin, this mark on your skin, and then your arm will grow to like twice its fucking size." The Ogryn will do it because he thinks he's doing the right thing. He won't really understand. So Ogryns have always been shown as being very stupid but very pure of heart. They always try and do what the Emperor wants them to do. And so because of this, basically the ecclesiarchy, how I like to think it is, they've requisitioned Ogryns for the regiment, because they're trying to be this pure of heart, they're trying to do this redemption crusade for the Mordian 50th Rifles, and Ogryns also make excellent shock troops. Absolutely excellent shock troops. So whilst they might not be a traditional Mordian Iron Guard unit, they are very, very welcome, and they do try their best to imitate the regiment that they're with. And in this case, they've all got themselves a very large Mordian Iron Guard hat. So that's the way I like to justify it. The ecclesiarchy have brought them along. They're all part of this, bringing the regiment back to its roots, bringing it back to the pureness. No psychers, and obviously the commissars love them, because Ogryns do exactly as they're told all the time, no matter what. So the commissars love them. So actually, strangely, Ogryns are very, very much at home in the Mordian Iron Guard, because whilst they may not be the most clean of soldiers, they definitely are very disciplined, because they do what they're told all the time without fail, and they have got an extremely strong and unshakable faith in the Emperor, much like the Mordian Iron Guard themselves. So they might be strange bedfellows, but they have more in common than they thought. And that's what the Mordian 50th Rifles are starting to realise, basically. That's what the officers are starting to realise. You turn your nose up at Ogryns as much as you want, until you see one of those Ogryns pull the head off a Chaos Space Marine, and then you realise actually these guys might not be so bad after all. So that's it for this week. Let me know what you think of the conversions. I know they're a little bit simplistic. I know it's a bit weird, all my Ogrins, single-handedly wielding their Ripper guns. But I think it works quite well. I like to think so. The conversion is very, very simple. Relatively cheap to do. Basically, you get 6 Ogrins, 6 converted Ogrins for the price of 3 original GW ones. So you're saving half your money by doing this. Even if you buy it new from GW and buy the bits all off eBay and whatnot, taking into postage and everything, you're still saving half, saving 50%. So I think that'll work quite well. But I've whittled on a little bit about my Ogrins and the guard. The problem I've got at the moment for next week is the weather is really, really bad. And I can't do any base coat. I can't do any spray painting if it's raining. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, painting-wise. I might have a week off, but hopefully not. What I'm hoping will happen is there'll be a break in the rain. And I can quickly run out and get my Ogrins spray painted. You'll notice 2 of them have got missing arms. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this. 2 of the Ogres have got missing arms. I've already chatted to Matt, and he's building up some Bulgars of his own. He says he's more than happy to give me the Ripper gun parts. So that's cool. So this is the first squad. I'm actually thinking of having 2 squads of 6 Ogrins in the final 2,000 point Mordian Fleece's rifle list. Because what we're looking at is we've got 180 infantry squads. 12 of those are going to be dedicated to assault. Flamers, power swords, melters. And then the other 6 are going to be dedicated to fire support with las cannon and plasma gun. Then I'm going to have 3 veteran squads, which are all going to be based on fire support as well, with missile launcher and grenade launchers, which is that's 90 infantry. That's a lot of firepower there. Don't discount the firepower of the assault brigades either. And then I'm going to have 3 heavy weapons squads, each with mortar. So that's actually 12 units dedicated to fire support. 6 infantry squads, 3 veterans, 3 mortar squads. And they're going to have, a company commander and a platoon commander and a commissar keeping an eye on them as well. So that should keep the discipline going, and there should be enough orders once they start taking casualties to go around. On the assault brigades, that means I've actually got 12 assault brigade units as well, but I'm going to be having a couple of Lord Commissars, a couple of company commanders, a couple of priests, a couple of junior officers, lots of power weapons and stuff in those characters, so that they can throw themselves into combat. Power fists and power, especially on all the Lord Commissars, because that helps chip some wounds off heretics. And then I'm going to have 2 6-man Ogryn squads. Because as I spoke earlier, I do think Ogryn's a bit of a sleeper unit. Now they are not as durable as Bulgrins, that is true. But I mentioned this in my Ogryn video that I put up a while ago, which is Ogrins are really cheap. You can get 5 Ogrins, well, you can get 6 Ogrins is what I'm going for, in a squad for 144 points. That's 6 Ogrins, that's 18 wounds. Toughness 5. Okay? For less than the price of 4 infantry squads. 3 infantry squads with upgrades. 3 infantry squads is 30 wounds, that is true. But they're only toughness 3. Whereas these guys have got 18 wounds. Well, if you look at if you've got 18 wounds and their toughness 5, then both units have got a 5 plus save, but that toughness 5 is big. And don't forget, I can put take cover on these guys to get them up to a 4 plus if I need to. If I was going to use psychic shenanigans, which I totally encourage everyone else to use, it's only my fluff is why I'm not using them. You could get them up to a 3 plus save and then -1 to hit on a very cheap unit. But I don't like to do that. I like to keep ogres as cheap as possible. That's the whole point. They're cheap shock infantry. And what I worked out was, if you take 2 squads of 6 Ogrins, right, This is the last bit I want to talk about in this video. If you take 2 squads of 6 ogres, that's 24 times 12, right? That's 288 points. Now you're going to take 2 priests, that's true. Which puts you on 358 points. Okay? 358 points. Now, if you take into account that if you were taking a Bulgarian star, you would take... How many Bulgarians could you get for the same amount? Well, you've got your 358. Now, you've got a minus your 35 for one of your priests. You've got a minus 26 for one of the astropaths. And a minus 26 for the other astropath. Which leaves you 271 points that you actually get to spend on the Bulgars themselves. And then you divide that by 42 points. And that leaves you with 6.45 Bulgars. So 6 Bulgarians, basically. 6 Bulgarians. Or 12 Ogrins. That's what you have to decide. The Bulgarians may have 2 damage weapons, but the Ogrins have got double the amount of attacks. So that really balances each other out. And 2 damage weapons are great against multi-wound things. But when you're clearing chaff, when you're assaulting, when you're assaulting just normal units, most of the units only have 1 wound. So the 2 damage doesn't really help, which means that the Ogrins massively pull ahead when it comes to clearing out just line infantry units. They're bully units, basically. They're not designed to go after the toughest thing out there. They're designed to go out against regular line units and just bully them. Absolutely bully them. Space Marines. The Ogrins still have -1 in AP in combat, same as Bulgarians. They're still wounding on 3s against Space Marines, same as Bulgarians. They've got same 3 attacks base plus 1 if they charge. When you think about that, that's 12. Think about this for a second. Each Ogryn, when it charges, with a priest in range, has 5 attacks. That's 5 times 12. That's 60 attacks, plus 2 for each bonus. 62 strength 5 attacks, -1. And don't forget, they hit on 3s. They get +1 for attack for charging, by the way, because Avalanche of Muscle, in case anyone didn't know. It's a special rule they've got. And don't forget, the Ogres themselves have guns. Now, they only hit on 4s with the guns, but they are strength 5 guns. Which is pretty good. That's an extra from each, and they're 3 shots each, which is an extra 3 shots from each Ogryn. I seriously think, and I don't know if it's craziness, but I mean, considering for 9 Bulgarians with their psychic support, you can get 18 regular Ogrins. Okay? 18. With character support. That sounds like it could be really horrible. That's a lot of... The enemy's got to deal with them as well, because if they don't, they're just going to beat the crap out of anything they come across. They're really gonna hurt them. So I do think Ogre's a bit of a sleeper unit. I mean, you could take 27 Ogres in a list and put a priest with each one. 3 squads of 9. Now, the problem I have with taking big 9-man squads of Ogrins is leadership. You're going to have to start putting Lord Commissars with them then to make sure they don't run away. So I think 6-man squads are kind of perfect. No risk of morale, because they will die. They've only got a 5+ save. They will die hard. But I think that with potential, and I'll talk about this in another video, with potential for Horde to be making a bit of a return, I think Ogrins could be a really nasty, cheap bully unit that you just throw at the enemy, and if they die, they die. So what? You lost 120 points on 5 Ogres, 144 points on 6 Ogres. Who gives a crap, man? If it takes the enemy 2 turns to chew through a squad of 6 Ogrins, or 2 squads of 6, that's 2 turns that your regular infantry have just been laying down the pain. And if he doesn't deal with them, the Ogres are just going to hurt him, and hurt him badly. So what do you guys think? What do you think? Let me know what you think about the conversions, and let me know what you think about the Ogryn tactics in general. Thank you for listening, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.